Dear child, today the angels have chosen these cards so that you can understand what did a third party say about you, some old story or truth that silenced your person and stopped them from telling you how deeply they love you. Take a deep breath, dear soul. And as you gently exhale, allow the silent burdens you've carried for so long to begin melting away from your heart. The angels are close, embracing you now with a quiet presence filled with peace, warmth, and unconditional love. They see more than the smile you show the world. They see the strength you've held in silence, and the sacred light within you that never stopped glowing, even when everything around you felt lost in darkness. With deep compassion, they honor the resilience that carried you through it all, the quiet courage, the silent endurance, the grace in your steps when no one else could see your struggle. This moment right now is holy. It is your invitation to pause, to soften, and to open your heart to receive. You have always been worthy of love, just as you are. And now, healing is awakening gently within you. Peace is drawing near, and the blessings that have long been waiting for you are finally on their way. Dear child, the angels have chosen to speak to your heart through this sacred moment, as your soul stands quietly at the edge of an unseen truth that has long waited to be acknowledged. You have sensed something before, haven't you? A pause in their voice when they were about to speak, a hesitation in their eyes that revealed more than words ever could. The person you carry in your heart, the one whose silence has confused you for so long, did not simply choose to retreat. No, my dear one, their voice was gently stolen from them by the weight of an old shadow, one they never expected would return with such power. Long before they knew the depth of their feelings for you, before they ever dreamed of building a bond with your spirit, there was another, someone from their past or their family's circle, who carried a truth about you, or perhaps an old story, twisted over time and wrapped in bitterness. This person, the third party, did not speak out of love or concern. They spoke from a place of possession, of control, of fear that your light would free the one they had quietly bound with invisible ropes of guilt and history. And so they spoke. They uttered words that were sharp in silence and subtle in their cruelty. Not a direct attack, but a carefully chosen truth, spoken in a way that turned it into a blade. It was something you once did, something from long ago, perhaps even something noble or brave that was painted in darker colors to serve a purpose. They knew it would shake your person. Not because they believed it, but because they feared the consequences of it being real. And your person, already trembling with the vulnerability that love brings, suddenly stood frozen between what they felt and what they feared. They did not stop loving you, dear child. They stopped themselves from showing you just how deeply they do. But the angels are guiding you now into a new understanding. This moment is not about blame. It is not even about the third party, as much as it is about the awakening of your own heart to how powerful your presence has become. The very fact that someone had to go back in time to find something to try and dim your light speaks volumes about how brightly you are shining in the present. Type Amen if you trust in angels' guidance. The energy that you carry, the grace that moves through you, has become so strong that it has made others uncomfortable. and those who live in fear or control cannot stand to watch someone rise who walks with truth and love. Your person was not prepared to defend you, not because they didn't want to, but because they were still learning how to defend themselves. They have always been the kind to carry burdens quietly, to avoid conflict, to try and fix things without confrontation. But this was not something they could fix. So they paused. They chose silence as a shield, thinking it would protect you both. But their silence has hurt you more than they know. Dear child, your angels want you to know that your person is waking up now. They are revisiting that moment, that conversation, that old story, and they are beginning to see that the truth was not in the words spoken, but in the intention behind them. And the intention was never love, it was fear. The angels are guiding them through dreams, signs, and deep inner reflection. Slowly, the veil is being lifted, and your person is remembering who you truly are, not through someone else's voice, but through the memory of every sacred moment you shared, every glance that healed them, every silence that felt like home. The soil of this connection is being tilled again, as the page arrives to remind them of what they were always meant to learn. This card speaks of a student, one who is learning not just through books or logic, but through life itself. And in this case, your person is being taught by spirit that love is not meant to be cautious and cold. It is meant to be courageous. It is meant to break past the noise of others and anchor itself in truth. And for you, beloved soul, this moment is about preparation. Do not let their silence turn into your self-doubt. Do not let what was said about you become your identity. You are more than any story twisted by someone else's fear. You are divine, chosen, held in grace, and seen with such clarity by your angels. They are walking beside you now, encouraging you to keep creating, to keep moving, to keep listening to the guidance that stirs in your chest like a sacred flame. Something is being built for you, and it will require your attention, your belief, and your patience. You may not see the shift yet, but it is happening behind the veil. The words they could not say are coming back to them. The love they could not express is becoming too heavy to carry silently. And when the moment is right, when Spirit aligns the pieces with divine timing, you will hear what your heart has longed to hear, not as a reaction, not out of guilt or pressure, but because the truth inside them will finally rise and demand to be spoken. So stay soft, dear child, but do not shrink. The angels are wrapping you in golden light tonight, whispering that you were never wrong for feeling what you felt, that the connection you sensed was real, that the silence was not a rejection, but a temporary eclipse, a learning period for someone whose heart has been cracked open and who is slowly discovering the courage to choose love even when others try to bury it beneath old wounds. Your truth will rise, and it will not need to shout. It will simply shine. And those who truly see you will be drawn to that light, not afraid of it. The angels want you to hold on to hope like it is sacred gold, to treasure your own heart, and to know that what is meant for you is already on its way, no matter who once tried to stand in its path. Heaven always has the final word, and that word will always be love. Dear child, your angels speak to you now through the gentle fragrance of memory, through the sound of a name that still echoes in your heart, through the longing that has not faded, but instead deepened over time, like roots growing beneath the surface of a sacred tree. This message arrives not from a place of judgment, but from compassion. Because what has happened between you and this person you love is not simple, and the silence you have endured is not empty. It is filled with the weight of a past that was never yours to carry, but somehow wrapped its threads around your name, around your energy, and became a ghost that rose at the very moment love was ready to blossom. The angels show a scene, tender yet painful, of a moment where the past was dug up, not by your person, but by another. A third party who once knew something about you, or thought they did. This person, whether a mutual connection, a family member, or someone from a time when you were still discovering yourself, unearthed an old chapter of your life. It may have been a moment of your innocence, a mistake born from pain, or a choice made from survival. But instead of offering it as a full picture, they presented it as a warning. Type, "I believe," if your heart trusts in God's divine plan and you're ready to move forward with unshakable faith. They cloaked it in just enough truth to make it believable, and just enough distortion to make it dangerous. And when they spoke of you to your person, they did so with the quiet confidence of someone who believed they were protecting. But their words did not protect. They poisoned. Your person, dear one, heard this story and felt the walls of their own heart tremble, because they had not yet learned how to trust the present without being haunted by the past, because they still carried wounds of their own, old betrayals, deep disappointments, childhood pain that made them question whether love can be pure, whether it can be safe. And in that fragile space, they allowed the third party's voice to become louder than their own inner knowing. They began to see you not through the light of your shared connection, but through the smudged glass of someone else's interpretation. They did not intend to hurt you. In fact, they thought they were saving themselves from hurt. They convinced themselves that stepping back would be the wiser path, that silence would be safer than truth. But what they didn't understand, dear child, is that when love is real, silence does not protect. It wounds. The angels are showing now how this silence has affected not just your connection, but your spirit. You've questioned your worth. You've replayed your past in your mind, wondering what it was that could have been said to turn them away. You've cried tears no one saw, and yet even in your quiet heartbreak, you continued to love. You continued to wish them well, even when they disappeared into confusion. And this, dear one, is what heaven cherishes about you. You are not defined by the wounds others speak of. You are defined by your ability to stay soft when the world tempts you to turn cold. You are defined by the grace with which you have carried the weight of this unspoken story. The card the angels have chosen to speak through carries the energy of deep memory and past emotional bonds, and this is no coincidence. Because your person is now revisiting everything. They are not doing it out loud, but within them, there is a silent unfolding. They are remembering you, not as someone described by another, but as someone who once made them laugh in the quietest way, who once looked at them and made them feel like they mattered. They are remembering a moment, a conversation, a glance where everything felt safe. And with each memory, they are peeling back the layers of doubt. The truth is knocking at the door of their heart now, and it sounds like your name, not the name of the one who sowed doubt. The angels are working in this sacred space of remembering, helping your person sort through the noise and come back to what is real. And what is real is you. Dear child, this is also a message of healing for your own inner self. Because the past was not just brought up to hurt you, it was brought up so you could finally face it, not as something to be ashamed of, but as a piece of your strength. You were never broken. You were growing. You were learning. And whatever happened, whatever was used against you, is no longer something to hide. It is something that heaven has already forgiven. You are not your past. You are the soul who kept walking, who kept giving, who kept showing up in love when others did not know how. And now, your angels are wrapping you in the healing balm of divine truth. They are speaking to your spirit in a way that no human ever could, reminding you that the love meant for you will never be scared away by your past. It will see you in your wholeness. It will hold your history with reverence, not rejection. The journey ahead is one of sacred unfolding. Your person is beginning to feel the emptiness that silence brings. They are beginning to feel the ache of a heart that spoke too late. And though you do not need to wait, do not need to pause your life for another's clarity, know that Spirit is working in both of you. If you choose to move forward, you will be guided. If you choose to open the door again, you will not do it alone. The angels will be there, helping love take shape in its truest form. And if they return to you, it will not be with confusion, but with humility, with apology, with the kind of truth that no third party could ever bury again. Hold your head high, dear child. You are not someone to be spoken of. You are someone to be known. You are someone to be loved, not in fragments, but in fullness. The time of shadows is passing, and the light that is returning will not ask you to hide. It will ask you to bloom. Dear child, your angels are speaking now through a tide of urgency that flows not with noise, but with a sacred truth long held back. Type, grateful. If angelic signs and divine blessings have touched your soul and filled your life with light. They come to you with a message carried on the wings of fierce love, the kind that has been burning behind closed eyes, the kind that was once ready to be spoken aloud, but was stopped at the very edge of revelation. The person you love, the one whose silence has haunted your dreams, was once rushing toward you with a heart full of clarity and purpose. They had made a decision. They had seen the truth of who you are, felt the magnitude of your spirit, and were preparing to fight for this bond, even if it meant breaking patterns that had kept them imprisoned for years. They were not confused. They were certain. And in that moment of conviction, they had every intention of coming to you, of laying their heart bare at your feet, unafraid of what would follow. But the energy of this card reveals how a third party, sensing this momentum, rushed in with words designed not just to delay them, but to shake the foundation of their belief in you. The interference did not come slowly. It came like a sudden wind. A voice cutting through their thoughts, fueled by urgency, wrapped in authority, and laced with the venom of distorted truth. The third party did not simply share information. They presented it like a warning, a flashing red light meant to startle, to halt, to invoke fear. And your person, already moving at the speed of the heart, was thrown into chaos. What was said may have come from someone they trusted, someone older, someone they never imagined would speak with such force against you. This person brought up an old truth, something you may have outgrown, something you never thought would follow you into this chapter of your life. But instead of offering it with understanding, they framed it as evidence, as a reason for doubt. They questioned your integrity, your intentions, your past, not with kindness, not with care, but with urgency meant to manipulate. They made your person feel as if they were making a reckless decision, as if choosing you meant abandoning all logic, and that terrified them. Dear child, understand that this does not mean your person stopped loving you. In fact, the angels show that the reason they were so deeply shaken is because they do love you, perhaps more than they have ever loved anyone before. But they are someone who, despite their passionate heart, has long been conditioned to trust the voices of others before their own. They've been taught to listen to authority, to avoid being impulsive, to weigh the consequences instead of trusting their soul. And so, in the moment when they were about to run toward you, a shadow from their past disguised itself as wisdom and shouted just loud enough to derail everything. They froze. Not because they wanted to, but because their fear of making a mistake, of being seen as foolish, overpowered their truth. And instead of fighting for you, they retreated. They told themselves they needed more time, that they had to think things through. But time only grew the silence, and silence only deepened your pain. The angels see the ache you've been holding, the confusion you've been battling. You've asked yourself again and again, what changed? What did I do wrong? But dear one, you did nothing wrong. This was not about your worth. It was about your person's unhealed wounds, and how easily they could be manipulated by someone who knew exactly what buttons to press. The third party was not acting out of pure malice, perhaps, but they were acting from a place of control. They did not want your person to choose freely. They wanted them to stay in a loop, safe, predictable, obedient. And your love threatened to break that loop. So they rushed in. They used speed and shock to break your person's resolve. And it worked, temporarily. But heaven never lets a lie last forever. And now, slowly but surely, your person is beginning to question everything. They are replaying the moment they were warned about you. They are revisiting the old truth that was used against you. And they are seeing how it was twisted, how it lacked compassion, how it failed to recognize the person you've become. They are beginning to see the difference between someone who truly cares and someone who controls under the guise of protection. And the more they reflect, the more they realize that their silence hurt the very person who never wanted anything but truth. Type blessed if you feel the gentle presence of angels lovingly guiding each step you take with wisdom and care. That realization is burning within them now, like a restless wind, like a racing thought that will not settle. They want to speak, they want to explain, but the words still feel too sharp in their mouth, because they know the damage has been done, and they don't yet know how to repair it. Dear child, your angels urge you to stay grounded in love, but not in waiting. You were never meant to beg for clarity, never meant to prove your worth to someone who should have already known it. The divine is lifting you above the noise now, asking you to trust that what was interrupted will either be restored with truth or replaced by something even more aligned. Do not chase silence. Do not water a flower that refuses to grow. Instead, rise. Speak your own truth. Live boldly in your authenticity. because the truth they doubted is still the truth that will set you free. And if your person finds the courage to break the chains that held them, to silence the voices that once led them away from you, then they may yet return, not with confusion, but with clarity, not with doubt, but with the kind of conviction they once had before it was stolen. Until then, your angels walk beside you. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. And no voice on earth can ever bury the kind of love that was written by heaven. Dear child, the angels are surrounding you now with the fragrance of celebration that never happened, with the echo of music that was meant to play but never reached your ears, with the image of a home you could have built together, if only the truth had not been interrupted by fear disguised as concern. Your heart sensed something beautiful was nearing, didn't it? A moment where the person you love would step fully into the light with you, no longer hiding their affection, no longer weighing their emotions in secret. There was a time, not long ago, when they imagined a future with you so clearly they could see the very walls you'd paint together, the gatherings you'd host, the sacred moments of simplicity, waking up next to you, laughing in the kitchen, holding your hand during sunsets. This wasn't a fantasy, dear one. It was real. It was forming in their heart with quiet certainty, and they were almost ready to act on it, to tell you everything, to choose you not in secret but in front of everyone. They were preparing for a commitment, even if they never said it aloud. And just when the energy of union was beginning to rise, just when their soul whispered yes, a voice from the outside arrived. A third party, someone close enough to influence them, someone who carried the weight of the past or the authority of a family tie, decided that this love, your love, was too great a threat to be allowed to flourish. This person did not need to lie. They only needed to reach into a part of your past or a shadow of a truth you may have shared openly once and stretch it just far enough to plant doubt. Perhaps they spoke of an old relationship, of a time in your life when you made choices from survival or heartbreak. Perhaps they reminded your person of an old version of you, a version they have long since outgrown, but they didn't bring it up in kindness. They used it like a brick, dropped suddenly into the sacred foundation your person was trying to build with you. They said, "Is this really who you want to bring home? Do you know enough about them to trust this dream?" And your person, though full of love, is someone who has always been deeply influenced by the idea of approval, by wanting others to believe their choices are wise. So when the third party questioned their decision, it shook them at the root, not because they stopped loving you, but because they began to fear they would lose something else: family harmony, reputation, respect. And so they paused. They stepped back, and they allowed silence to take the place of celebration. But the angels want you to know, dear child, that the love itself has never disappeared. It has only been placed in a box, hidden behind closed doors, not because it was wrong, but because someone else was afraid of what your love would change. And this is what you must understand now. Your connection was never weak. It was so strong, it made others uneasy. It was so pure, it made those stuck in patterns of fear feel exposed. You see, your presence brought a different kind of light into your person's life, one that would have required them to grow, to break free from the comfort of old expectations. And the third party sensed this, type strong, if you honor the quiet strength within you, the courage that carried you through even your darkest moments. So instead of letting love evolve naturally, They planted seeds of hesitation under the disguise of concern. They didn't want to lose control. And you, dear one, are someone who cannot be controlled. Your energy is wild in its honesty, gentle in its love, but uncontainable when it comes to truth. That is why this happened. Not because you were wrong, but because you were right, because you were real. Now your person sits in silence, surrounded by the ghost of what could have been. They see glimpses of you everywhere, in the song that plays when they walk into a store, in the quiet moment at night when they imagine what life would feel like if they had chosen you without fear. The vision of a life with you hasn't gone away. It lingers. It whispers to them in dreams. And with each day that passes, the vision feels less like a fantasy and more like a truth they are growing brave enough to claim. The angels are working with them now, helping them recognize the difference between obligation and love, helping them see that a house built on approval will never feel like home if the heart isn't in it. And their heart, dear child, is still with you. But this message is not only about them, it is about you too. You have carried the weight of confusion, the ache of almost, the silence that followed a moment when everything felt ready. And still, you have remained open. Still, you have loved. Still, you have not let bitterness turn your soul hard. And heaven celebrates you for that. The love you hold is not ordinary. It is sacred. And even if someone tried to hide it behind old stories or fears, it cannot stay hidden forever, because the truth always rises. The angels want you to trust that whatever was delayed was not denied. If this love is meant to be, it will return, stronger, clearer, and unafraid. And if it is not, then something even more aligned is being prepared. But you must not shrink while waiting. You must not dim your light to fit inside someone else's fear. Continue building your life as if the love you long for is already woven into it. Prepare your spirit for joy, not for disappointment. Because the energy of sacred union is not lost. It is simply taking a different path than you expected. And whether your person finds the courage to return to you, or someone new arrives bearing the truth you deserve, your angels promise this: you will not walk this path alone. Divine love is being aligned with you, and it will never ask you to hide who you are. Dear child, your angels are drawing close now with a message bathed in golden light, because the emotions you've carried, the questions you've asked in silence, and the ache that pulses like a quiet drum beneath your daily life have reached their ears. They have seen the depth of your heart, the purity of your desire to love and be loved without games, without walls, without fear. They have watched you hold your wishes close like fragile stars cupped in your hands, praying for the one you love to see what you see, feel what you feel, and speak what they have kept hidden for too long. And now they come to gently unveil why the very thing that should have been fulfilled, the dream of deep love returned, suddenly paused as if the universe stopped mid-breath. Because just as your person was nearing the truth within their soul, just as their heart was filling with the certainty that you were everything they had been longing for, a third voice entered. A shadow from their surroundings rose up with carefully chosen words, wrapped in sweetness but rooted in control. Someone close to them, someone who masks their insecurities behind concern, spoke of you, not as you are now, but as someone they used to know or thought they knew. They did not speak from truth. They spoke from fear, from envy, from a place that could not understand how someone like you could offer such love and still have once struggled, once fallen, once been misunderstood. The angels revealed that the story shared by this third party may have been partially true on the surface, but deeply distorted in meaning. It may have referenced a season in your life when you were still learning how to love yourself, when you were still giving too much to those who gave little in return. Or perhaps it spoke of a past relationship, a failed connection, or a path you took that didn't lead where others thought it should. But instead of being shared with the compassion of someone who sees how far you've come, it was shared with the intent to make your person second-guess their joy. This person framed your story as a warning, whispering doubts that landed like seeds in your person's vulnerable heart. Type guided if you feel surrounded by divine light, walking in harmony with the higher realm that gently holds you. They made it seem like your happiness was too good to be true, like your emotional depth was a performance, like your glow was a disguise. And because your person was just beginning to believe that they were finally worthy of happiness, they didn't yet have the strength to protect their wish. So they retreated, not because they stopped loving you, but because they began to fear that everything they wanted might fall apart again, and they weren't ready to face another heartbreak. The angels show us that this person has been hurt before, deeply and silently. They have learned to associate joy with danger, and when they saw you, the very embodiment of a dream come true, they wanted it, craved it, needed it. But then, the third party's words made them feel foolish for it, as if wanting something so deeply meant they were being naive. And so they silenced themselves. They buried their love beneath politeness, distractions, obligations, pretending that it was easier not to feel than to risk everything. But dear child, your angels see what lies beyond the surface. They see that your energy is still resting in their heart like a melody they cannot forget. The joy you gave them, the peace they felt in your presence, the way you saw them clearly without judgment, these moments have not vanished. They are treasures hidden in their spirit, and they return to them often in silence. When they laugh at something and instinctively wish to share it with you, when they feel alone in a room full of people and imagine your hand in theirs, when they catch themselves smiling at the thought of you and quickly hide it. These are the echoes of a love that has not left. It is still there, waiting to be claimed. The Nine of Cups brings with it the energy of fulfillment, of wishes granted, of emotional satisfaction that comes not from outer achievements, but from inner peace. This message, beloved, is not just about what was interrupted. It's about what is still possible. The angels want you to know that the love you offered was never wasted. It was received. It was felt. And it changed something inside them. It made them confront a truth they had buried, that they have longed for real, soul-deep connection, even if they've pretended they were fine without it. And now, the distance they placed between you and them is beginning to ache. They are starting to see that the story they believed may not have been the whole truth, that the joy you offered was not a trick, but a gift, and that silencing their feelings may have given temporary comfort to the voice of fear, but it has robbed their heart of the peace they only found with you. Dear child, the angels want to pour love into your soul now like warm honey, slow and sacred. They want you to stop questioning whether you are lovable. You are. They want you to stop wondering if you did something wrong. You didn't. What happened was never a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of someone else's fear. Fear that they were not enough to receive someone as radiant as you. So don't shrink. Don't close your heart. Don't let someone's temporary silence turn into a permanent belief that your love is too much. It is not too much. It is holy. And the universe has taken note of every tear you've cried in private, every time you held back from reaching out again, every time you prayed for a sign. This is your sign. What was delayed may still arrive. And even if this person never finds the courage to return, the kind of love you carry will never be denied by the divine. A wish this pure always finds its way home. And the angels are already preparing a blessing for you, a truth spoken, a message delivered, a moment where love will rise again without fear. Dear child, there is a sacred stillness around you right now, a space being held by your angels so that your heart can finally receive the truth it has been aching to understand. You have felt the turbulence, haven't you? That strange and heavy energy of someone who loves you deeply, yet has remained caught in a silent battle you cannot see. There is a rhythm of indecision in your person's heart, a quiet back and forth that has made you question not only them, but sometimes yourself too. And now, the angels are ready to show you what lies beneath that silence, what caused their soul to waver, just as it was preparing to speak the truth you've longed to hear. You see, dear one, your person did feel ready. They were moving toward you, perhaps not quickly, but with intention. Their heart had begun to open, and with it came dreams of life with you, of sacred partnership, of letting go of fear and surrendering to something deeper than anything they've known. But then, just as they were about to find balance within their emotions, a third party entered the space between you, not with screams or threats, but with quiet weight, with a story. Type faith. If you trust that God is leading you step by step with love toward your highest good. A story from your past, shared not to inform, but to destabilize. A truth you may have once spoken yourself was used against you like a burden placed in your person's hands. The third party may have brought up a period in your life when things weren't aligned, when your choices were survival-based, or when love looked different than it does now. They didn't tell your person that you've grown. They didn't speak of your strength, your healing, your evolution. They spoke only of imbalance, of instability, as if that was all you could ever be. And so your person found themselves suddenly holding two truths at once, one being the love they felt for you, and the other being the fear that maybe, just maybe, they didn't know the full story. This, dear child, is the very essence of what the angels are showing in this moment. Your person did not walk away from you out of rejection. They didn't fall silent because their love was fading. They became overwhelmed with the pressure to choose between what they feel and what others tell them is safe. They began to juggle the weight of your connection with the opinions of those who have never truly seen you. And in trying to keep everything balanced, approval, reputation, old beliefs, they dropped what mattered most. They dropped their own voice. They dropped you. But what they didn't understand then is that by trying to manage the outer world, they were slowly starving their inner one. Because love, true love, is not something you can keep in the air like a coin you're not sure where to place. It asks to be claimed. It asks to be felt fully, not weighed and compared like a pros and cons list. And now your person is realizing the cost of their indecision. The absence of your energy is not something they can replace with distractions. The peace they once felt in your presence, the way your voice steadied their heart, the comfort of being seen by you, all of that is now a haunting ache they carry, even when they pretend they're fine. The angels are showing that this weighing, this internal seesaw, is still ongoing within them, but the scales are starting to shift. The truth is tipping forward, and the old fears are beginning to feel heavier than the risk of choosing love. Dear child, what the angels want you to understand is this. Your presence disrupted their patterns. You brought in a kind of emotional gravity they weren't ready for. And when someone is used to shallow connections, to love that never demands growth, they panic when the real thing arrives. It's not because your love is too much. It's because it is exactly what they've been praying for, but in a form they didn't expect. And the third party who stepped in knew that. They knew that if your person stopped and really looked at you, if they allowed their soul to lead instead of their fear, then nothing would stop them from choosing you. That is why they spoke, not to help, but to cause hesitation. They didn't speak because you were wrong for your person, dear one. They spoke because they knew you were right for them, and that terrified them. Because you represented change. You represented truth. And people who cling to control fear truth more than anything. But your angels are not here to feed your anger. They are here to remind you of your worth, your light, your resilience. You have carried the pain of being misjudged, misunderstood, and unfairly labeled by someone who didn't know your heart. And even through that, you did not collapse. You remained steady in love. You still believe in the beauty of what was shared, and heaven honors that. The divine sees every tear you've cried without closure, every night you stared at your ceiling wondering if it was something you said, something you missed. But the truth is, it was never about what you lacked. It was about what you revealed. And what you revealed made others afraid of what your person might become if they chose you fully. Free, independent, joyful, unshakable. And now, beloved child, you are being asked to do something sacred. You are being asked to continue walking forward with the dignity of one who knows their love was real, their intentions were pure, and their story is still unfolding. If your person chooses you in the future, it must not be because they silenced other voices. It must be because they finally learned to listen to their own. And if they do not, if their weighing continues and they remain frozen, then know this too. The angels will not allow you to go unloved. What is aligned for your soul, what brings peace to your heart and mirrors your truth, is already finding its way to you. But for now, stay open, stay radiant, stay grounded in the knowing that being loved should never feel like a battle you must win. Type protected if you've ever felt the comforting touch of angels offering peace, signs, or sacred reassurance. Dear child, your angels are leaning in close now with a message that carries the swiftness of truth, the urgency of love that was almost spoken, and the quiet ache of moments that passed too quickly to be held. You have been wondering why everything that felt so full of momentum, so charged with undeniable energy, suddenly stopped. Why the person who once seemed ready to run toward you with open arms became silent, hesitant, unreachable. And the angels now open this window between the worlds to help you see what your heart already knows but hasn't dared to trust. This connection was never a mistake. The feelings that rushed between you were real. The signs were not your imagination. The fire, the pull, the intensity. It was all a reflection of something divine waking up inside both of you. And yet, in the middle of this sacred acceleration, someone stepped in. A third party who saw the change in your person, saw how you were becoming their focus, their joy, their future, and decided it was time to interfere. This person, be it a family member, a friend, or someone from your person's past, recognized that the pace at which this relationship was moving threatened the order they were used to controlling. So they spoke, not out of concern, but out of panic. They brought up an old truth about you, something from your past that has already been healed, something you've already grown beyond. But they didn't present it with compassion. They delivered it like a warning, a disruption, a brick thrown into the middle of what was just beginning to blossom. And your person, overwhelmed by the speed of their own emotions and the pressure of someone else's voice, slammed the brakes, not because they didn't love you, but because they were told to fear what they were feeling. They were told that things were moving too fast, that your past made you unsafe, that love built this quickly couldn't be real. And so they paused, not realizing that their pause would wound you in a way that silence never should. But dear child, the angels are showing something powerful now. The energy that once rushed through this connection is not gone. It is still moving beneath the surface like a current waiting to rise again. And your person, despite the confusion they've allowed to take root, is beginning to feel the cost of stopping what was never meant to be halted. The stillness they chose, the distance they allowed, is not giving them peace. It is giving them restlessness, because their soul remembers the momentum. Their heart remembers the clarity they felt when you were near. And now, as they sit in the echo of what could have been, they are beginning to hear the voice of truth growing louder than the voice of fear. This card's energy carries the spirit of movement, of messages, of alignment that comes quickly when resistance finally breaks. And the angels say to you now, there is a shift coming. Your person is waking up, not because they missed the attention, but because they are finally starting to realize that the story they were told about you was incomplete. They are beginning to question the source of that story. They are beginning to see that the third party didn't speak with love, but with an agenda. And with this awareness, something inside them is stirring, a desire to correct what was left unsaid. A need to explain what they didn't have the courage to before. The energy is building again, and though it may not be visible yet, it is gathering speed like a wind before the storm. A storm of truth, of reckoning, of heartfelt expression that can no longer be delayed. But the angels also bring this message not just about what they are feeling, but about what you must now claim. You are not someone who should ever be hidden behind someone else's fear. You are not a lesson to be avoided. You are a blessing waiting to be embraced. And though you have been patient, though you have waited for clarity, for justice, for the return of what once felt promised, you must not allow the silence of another to make you question your light. The speed with which this love awakened was not a sign of danger. It was a sign of soul recognition. And if your person allowed themselves to be convinced otherwise, then let that be their lesson to heal through. Because your path, dear child, is still moving forward, with or without the words they failed to speak. Type blessings if you sense the universe aligning in your favor, filling your journey with grace and abundance. Yet still, the angels ask you to stay open, not to waiting, but to receiving. Because if this person finds the courage to move again, to speak, to choose love not out of impulse, but out of clarity, you will feel it. The energy will return quickly. The messages may come unexpectedly. The healing may unfold in ways you never imagined. But you must stay grounded in your truth. Do not chase what is not chasing you. Do not beg for answers from someone who has yet to find their voice. Let them come when they are ready to come with truth, not excuses. And in the meantime, keep living, keep dreaming, keep walking as if love has already found you, because it has. It lives in you. And whether it returns through the person you once loved, or someone who sees you fully from the very beginning, it will return. Love always finds the heart that is willing to remain open after pain. This moment is not an end. It is a pause before a sacred shift. And when the movement comes again, it will come fast, clear, undeniable. Whether it is them or someone new, your angels promise. This time, nothing will be able to stop it. Because truth always outruns fear. And love, when it is real, cannot stay silent forever. Dear child, the angels draw close now with the weight of ancient wisdom resting gently on their wings. Because the message that flows through today carries not just emotion, but authority. A truth that has long been buried beneath layers of duty, ego, family pressure, and the silent chains of legacy. You've felt the distance in your person, haven't you? That frustrating contradiction between what their eyes say and what their actions refuse to confirm. They have loved you, yes, and still do, but they've worn a mask, one carved from pride, one passed down like armor from generations before them. And behind that mask, they've hidden not only their vulnerability, but the truth they once wanted to share with you. That you moved them in ways no one ever had, that you awakened something far more tender than they knew how to express. But when the moment came for truth to be spoken, when the walls were about to fall, a third party appeared. Someone whose presence commands attention, whose voice echoes with the tone of dominance. This was not just any person. This was someone who has held power over your beloved's choices for a long time. A father figure, perhaps. A mentor. A mother cloaked in control. A family member whose opinion was never questioned. And they did not speak with curiosity about you. They spoke with certainty, armed with an old truth from your past, or a version of it, incomplete and laced with bias. They said things like, "This person doesn't match your world," or "Their story is too complicated," or "You need someone more stable, more traditional, more approved." And your person, who had felt so ready to claim you, suddenly reverted into a role they had played all their life: the good child, the obedient one, the protector of the family's image. What hurt the most is that they didn't fight. Not because they didn't want to, dear one, but because they were raised in a structure that trained them to believe love is earned through order, not chaos, through control, not surrender. and your love, your presence, your wild and radiant truth. It challenged that structure. It asked them to rise not just as a lover, but as a leader of their own life. And they weren't ready. So they folded. They told themselves they were being wise, being loyal, being practical. They told themselves that stepping away was the responsible thing to do. But the angels have seen their heart since that moment, and it has not known peace. Because deep within, they know they abandoned something sacred. Not because of who you are, but because of who they were too afraid to become. The energy of this card brings forth a person who has long been torn between the need for control and the desire for connection. They are not cold, but they have been taught that showing love makes them weak. They are not heartless, but they've been told that emotion is dangerous. And you, dear child, with your softness, your truth, your ability to love without masks, you terrified and enchanted them all at once. They didn't know how to hold something so pure without breaking it. And so, when someone powerful in their life painted you as a threat, they chose silence. Not because they believed it, but because they didn't yet believe in themselves enough to defend what they felt. Type surrender if you are ready to let go of your worries and trust the divine timing of your sacred path. But the angels are whispering now that something is beginning to shift. Your person is starting to see the hollowness of the world they tried to protect. They are beginning to understand that power without love is nothing but a prison. They see how their life has been shaped by rules they didn't write, how their emotions have been silenced to serve a legacy that no longer fits. And they are remembering you, not just as someone they cared for, but as someone who made them feel seen, held, alive. The foundation they clung to is cracking, and from those cracks, light is entering. This awakening will not be fast. The ego they wear has been polished for years, but the angels are guiding them back to the heart, to the part of them that still aches for what was left behind, for what was never spoken. And even if they still appear composed, distant, unfazed, know this, dear one, inside they are battling, and your spirit is the voice in their silence that keeps calling them home. But this message is not just about them. It is for you, because you have stood in the storm of their silence with grace. You have held your truth even when it was questioned, even when others tried to rewrite your story. And heaven sees you. You were never meant to fit into their world, dear child. You were meant to transform it. You are not someone who should be chosen in secret, approved through quiet whispers, or loved behind closed doors. You are someone whose heart deserves to be met in full light, with full voice, by someone who chooses you without needing permission. And if this person finally finds the courage to break free from the shadow of authority, if they return not as a half version, but as the sovereign soul they were always meant to be, then love will rise again. But if they do not, if they remain tied to a version of themselves that cannot hold you, then your angels will place someone in your life who can. Someone who sees you clearly. Someone who doesn't need convincing. Someone who will not let old stories ruin a new beginning. So lift your head, dear child. You have already proven your strength. You have already held the line between pain and grace with such beauty that heaven has bowed in your honor. You are not here to be silenced by someone else's fear. You are here to be loved with reverence. And that love, it is coming. It is written. It is rising. Dear child, the angels speak now with the firelight of truth gently flickering in their hands, and they ask you to come closer, for this message burns with the energy of passion interrupted, of love that once surged forward with so much intensity, but was pulled back by fear, disguised as concern. You have felt this shift, haven't you? You saw the spark in their eyes, the excitement, the way their energy came alive when they were near you. You felt the way they leaned in, the way their soul reached for you with urgency, as though your presence woke something dormant inside them. It wasn't just chemistry. It was recognition. It was a soul who had been tired of going through life numb, suddenly finding a fire it didn't know it had been searching for. That fire was you, dear one. Your person began to move toward you with speed, perhaps without hesitation, perhaps without explaining their feelings clearly, but their actions said enough. They were ignited. They were in motion. They were ready to leap. But this kind of momentum, this wild and beautiful charge of emotion, frightened those around them who have never known love like that. And so, just when the fire began to rise, a third party appeared. Someone who claimed to care, but spoke from a place of control. Someone who saw that the one you love was no longer living in fear, no longer stuck in stagnation, and realized they were losing their grip on them. And so, they reached back into your past, or perhaps into theirs, and pulled out a story, not to honor the truth, but to manipulate it. They questioned your character, your stability, your past intentions. They said things like, "This is moving too fast. You don't really know them," or "This is just infatuation, not real love." And in doing so, they lit a different fire in your person, not the fire of love, but the fire of fear. Suddenly, your person who had been so sure, so moved by instinct, began to feel confused. That passion, once a gift, now felt dangerous. Type light. If your soul is deeply connected to healing, truth, and the infinite love that forever surrounds you, they were told that what they were feeling was reckless, impulsive, naive. And because they had been raised to value control over emotion, logic over passion, they began to retreat, not from a lack of love, but from the belief that loving you was somehow wrong. The angels are showing you this now not to hurt you further, but to free you from the story you've been telling yourself in the dark. Because your person did not stop loving you. They were made to believe that their love for you was a risk they couldn't afford. And what they don't yet understand is that the true risk was walking away from the very soul that made them feel alive again. Because you, dear child, were not a mistake. You were a mirror. You reflected back to them all that they had buried beneath years of numbness. You reminded them what it felt like to want something with your whole being. You were the storm after a long drought. You were the wind that pulled them out of their old life. And that kind of awakening is not something that everyone around them will understand. It is not something that fits into tidy expectations, and so they were told to suppress it, to run from it, to tame it. And in doing so, they silenced the very part of themselves that was finally beginning to live. But dear child, your energy still lingers with them. Though they may appear composed on the surface, inside them the fire has not gone out. It simmers beneath their routines, beneath their silence, beneath the mask they now wear again. And every time they see your name, hear your voice, remember the way you looked at them, they feel the burn. the pull, the ache, because the love never left. It was simply buried beneath someone else's fear. And now the angels are beginning to stir that fire again. Your person is being shown what life feels like without your presence, and it is colder than they expected. They are feeling the contrast, the emptiness of being safe, but not fulfilled. And soon, they will come to realize that the passion they felt with you was not recklessness. It was truth. It was their soul remembering what it came here for. And you, dear one, have been holding so much pain in silence. You've wondered if you imagined the connection, if you read too much into their gaze, if you were too much, too intense, too fast. But the angels need you to know, you were never too much. You were exactly what they needed. You were the truth that arrived too soon for someone who was still healing. And though it is not your job to wait, it is your right to know that you changed them, that your fire still lives in them. And if they ever return, it must be not as a wounded knight running back and forth between passion and fear, but as someone who is finally ready to embrace the fire instead of run from it. So do not dim your flame, dear child. Do not tone down your truth to make yourself more digestible. You were made to be bold, to be brilliant, to be someone who doesn't just pass through life, but lights up every room you enter. And if someone was afraid of your fire, that is not your shame to carry. That is their lesson to learn. Your angels are protecting you now. They are guiding your path forward with the same flame that once lit your love. And if that person finds the strength to face their truth, to silence the third party's voice, to walk back into the fire with open arms and steady hands, then you will know. But until then, you are already whole, already worthy, already loved. Dear child, the angels arrive now with the warmth of truth wrapped in golden light, bringing a message that glows with the power of clarity, healing, and a love that was never meant to be hidden. You have been walking through the shadow of confusion for too long, carrying the ache of silence like a weight upon your spirit, asking the same question again and again in your quietest hours. If the love was real, then why did they stop? And the answer, dear one, comes with the energy of the sun, not to burn, not to blind, but to illuminate. Because your love was real. Their feelings were not a dream. What you shared was sacred. And what interrupted it was not a lack of emotion, but a fear planted by someone who could not bear to see such joy grow without their control. The angels show a third party stepping in, not with the intention to destroy, but with the deep unconscious need to dim your light, because it was too bright for their comfort. You see, there are people in your person's life who are not used to joy that is pure, love that is free, and truth that asks nothing but to be received. When your person began to feel that with you, when they started to smile more, dream more, imagine a future where love wasn't complicated, it unsettled those around them who live within walls built from past wounds. Type, I believe, if your heart trusts in God's divine plan and you're ready to move forward with unshakable faith. And so this third party, likely someone who has always felt the need to influence, to advise, to protect, came forward with the truth from your past. Maybe it was something about a relationship that didn't last. Maybe it was a time when you struggled to find your way, when you made choices that were misunderstood. Or maybe it wasn't even what you did. but the freedom with which you live, the confidence in your voice, the glow you carry, that was spoken of as a threat. They painted your light as instability. They called your radiance a performance. And they did it with the calm conviction that only those deeply afraid of change can hold. They made your person feel like your happiness couldn't be trusted, that no one could shine that brightly without hiding something. And so, your person, who was finally beginning to let the sun of your love warm the cold places inside them, stepped back, not because they didn't feel, but because they were told to fear what felt too good, too pure, too fast. But here is what the angels need you to know, dear child. You are the sun. You are not just a source of light in someone's life. You are the very force that calls truth out of shadows. You are the warmth that makes healing possible. You are the clarity after long confusion. And what scared them, what scared that third party, was not something broken in you. It was the power you carry to illuminate what others would rather keep hidden. Your person was not rejecting you. They were being pulled back into the comfort of the shadows by someone who cannot yet survive in the light. But now their heart is beginning to stir again. Because once someone has felt real warmth, they cannot forget it. The memory of your smile, the way you made them feel safe and excited at the same time, the sense that anything was possible when you were near. It all still lives inside them. And the longer they sit in the shadow of others' expectations, the more they realize what they've lost. They are beginning to understand that the story told about you was only a partial truth, one told with fear, not love. And as their inner light grows stronger, it begins to burn through the fog that clouded their judgment. The angels show your person slowly awakening, not in grand gestures, but in small moments of recognition. They remember you in the quiet. They feel your presence when they see something beautiful. They ache for the joy they silenced. And though they may not yet know how to return, the path is forming. Because your energy, your light has not faded. It has expanded. And whether they rise to meet it or not, the sun you carry will keep rising again and again. This message is also for your healing, dear child. Because being rejected when you offered only love can make even the brightest soul question their light. But heaven has watched you. You did not dim. You did not turn cold. You did not punish yourself with bitterness. You have walked through confusion with grace, and now the divine is ready to bless you with a joy that no voice will ever silence again. Whether it is this person returning to speak the truth they were once too afraid to claim, or someone new who recognizes your light instantly and stands beside you without fear, you will be loved out loud. You are not someone to be doubted. You are not someone to be paused for approval. You are the sun, dear child, and anyone who cannot stand in your light must face the shadows they carry, not the fault they try to place on you. The time of hiding is ending. The truth will be revealed, and love, real love, will rise where it belongs, not in secrecy, not in hesitation, but in full view, without shame. You have waited long enough. Now let joy return to you in all its forms. And let those who tried to silence your light watch as it becomes the very force that leads you to a happiness far greater than anything they could have imagined. Dear child, your angels surround you now with a quiet reverence, as if stepping into a garden carefully tended by your own soul. The kind of garden that blooms not overnight, but through the seasons of your strength, your sorrow, and your silent victories. You have walked a long and often lonely road to become the person you are today. And this message comes not only to bring clarity about the silence from your person, but also to honor your journey, your self-respect, and the dignity with which you have held yourself through confusion, heartbreak, and unspoken goodbyes. Type grateful if angelic signs and divine blessings have touched your soul and filled your life with light. The love you offered was not weak. It was not desperate. It was not careless. It was the offering of someone who has already created something sacred within themselves and was ready to share it, not because you needed someone to complete you, but because you believed love should be a partnership between two whole souls. And for a moment, dear one, it felt like your person could meet you there. They felt the abundance in your presence, the way you glowed not with need, but with purpose. The way you walk through life as someone who knows how to survive, how to flourish, how to heal. And that energy, they wanted it. They were drawn to it. They admired it. But they also feared it. You see, the angels reveal that someone from their circle, someone who has always operated from the belief that independence is a threat rather than a blessing, stepped in at a crucial moment. This third party brought up parts of your past that they viewed through a distorted lens. Perhaps your time alone, your career-focused life, your financial independence, your refusal to tolerate disrespect, or even a period of solitude that others misjudged as loneliness. They told your person that you were too self-sufficient, too strong, too proud, too much your own. They whispered that people like you don't settle down, that you can't be controlled, that you'd never need them the way others had. And that truth, the truth of your self-made strength, was twisted into something threatening. And your person, still living in a world where love has always meant saving or being saved, began to believe that maybe they had no place in your life, that maybe you were too far ahead, that maybe your light only highlighted their own insecurities. And so, they pulled back. Not because you weren't enough, but because they felt they weren't. But the angels are showing that this silence has been echoing in your person's heart ever since. Because they didn't walk away from someone who demanded, or clung, or begged. They walked away from someone who stood with grace and waited for truth. And that memory, that image of you, standing in your own power, willing to share your world, but not shrink for anyone, has never left them. They compare it now to every connection they've tried to chase since. They look at others and find that no one carries the same quiet royalty that you do. They try to forget, but the memory of your wholeness keeps haunting them. Not because it hurt them, but because it revealed everything they are not yet ready to become. Your person isn't afraid of love. They're afraid of what they'd have to grow into in order to truly stand beside you. And the third party, knowingly or unknowingly, triggered that fear and magnified it. They made your independence sound like a wall, when really it was a garden you invited them into. Dear one, your angels want you to understand how rare and sacred your energy is. The love you carry is not one of desperation. It is a divine offering, a partnership rooted in respect, not dependence. And while others may misunderstand that kind of love, those who are truly ready for it will never be scared away by it. The one who is meant for you will not be intimidated by your power. They will honor it. They will celebrate it. They will rise to meet it. And whether that ends up being this person who may one day return after realizing that the silence they chose cost them something priceless, or someone new who sees your worth without needing to be convinced, the divine is aligning you with a love that mirrors back the wholeness you've already cultivated. This moment in your journey is not about chasing anyone. It is about recognizing that the very thing the third party used against you, your resilience, your sovereignty, your radiance, is what makes you the kind of partner that heaven blesses. Let no one confuse your independence for isolation. Let no one mistake your strength for arrogance. You were never meant to dim to make others feel secure. And the love that is coming for you will not only accept your light, it will be born of it. So hold your head high, dear child. What was misunderstood will soon be recognized. What was twisted will be untangled. And the love that was paused will either find its courage or make way for something more worthy. Dear child, the angels come forward now with a message wrapped in the stillness of deep roots and the quiet weight of emotional maturity. For this is not a message about fleeting feelings or unfinished desires. It is about what was building in silence behind the mask of control. Type, strong, if you honor the quiet strength within you, the courage that carried you through even your darkest moments. It is about a person who, beneath all appearances of composure, stability, and strength, held within them a love that could have been a foundation for something sacred. This person, the one who touched your heart and then retreated, was not without feeling. In fact, the angels reveal they had already begun to envision a future with you, not in the abstract or romanticized sense, but in practical, grounded terms. They thought of how your presence would change the atmosphere of their home, how your voice would soften their days, how your strength would become a partnership rather than a challenge. They admired you deeply. They felt safe with you in a way they rarely had with others. And yet, in the silence between their intentions and their actions, a voice entered. A third party who carried with them not just words, but a legacy of fear, a history of narrow thinking, and a lens so rigid it could not see you clearly. This third party was not someone random. The angels show that it was someone your person has long seen as a symbol of wisdom, of order, of the way things should be. It may have been an older family member, a mentor, a figure whose opinion has long shaped their identity. And this person brought up a story from your past, not a lie, but a truth spoken without compassion. Perhaps it was about your financial independence or a past relationship that failed, or a time when you had to survive on your own. Perhaps it was about the way you live outside traditional expectations, or how you refuse to settle into roles others define. And instead of honoring that truth as a mark of your growth, they twisted it into a warning. They said you were too different, too ambitious, too risky. They questioned your reliability, not based on who you are now, but based on who you were before, without ever acknowledging how far you've come. And your person, who has always been someone who needs to feel in control, who values security above all, who fears the unknown even when it calls to them, was shaken. They did not want to lose the respect of the one who raised them, taught them, shaped them. And so, instead of standing in their own truth, instead of defending what they felt, they stepped into silence. They did it slowly, perhaps, or without explanation, but they did it because the old version of themselves won the battle that day. The version that prioritizes image over emotion. The version that thinks love must always be measured and planned. The version that would rather keep the peace with others than risk rejection for speaking their heart. And they convinced themselves they were being wise, practical, responsible. But dear one, the angels see what they have not said. They see the quiet pain growing in your person's soul, the way they now carry their emotions like heavy coins stored in a vault, locked away, protected, untouched. Because walking away from you did not bring them peace. It brought them an echoing emptiness. You were not a distraction from their life's path. You were the missing part of it. You were the warmth that balanced their discipline, the spark that softened their seriousness. And now, even as they appear stable on the outside, inside they are confronting a storm they can no longer silence. Because your absence has revealed the very truth they were trying to suppress, that love is not meant to be postponed until everything is perfect. It is meant to be lived while the heart is still beating. The angels speak now to you, dear child, because they know how much you gave without being asked. They know how gently you offered your soul, how deeply you trusted the quiet promises that were never fully spoken but always felt. They know how painful it was to be pushed aside, not because you failed, but because someone else feared how brightly you shone. And now they want you to understand something sacred. Your love was not too much. It was a mirror. It showed your person what they could become, but also what they were not yet ready to be. It illuminated the cracks in the structures they built their life upon. It revealed that true partnership cannot be controlled like a business plan. It must be felt, surrendered to, allowed, and they were not ready to allow it. Type guided if you feel surrounded by divine light, walking in harmony with the higher realm that gently holds you. But the story is not over, because the energy of this message carries with it the promise of transformation, not just for them, but for you. You are being guided now into a season where your worth will no longer be doubted. The silence that once confused you is becoming the space through which divine clarity will emerge. And if your person finds the courage to break free from the grip of others' expectations, if they finally choose to step into love without apology, it will not be because they missed you. It will be because they grew enough to match you. And if they do not, then know this: the divine is preparing someone who already carries the wisdom this person is still learning. Someone who will not be swayed by whispers, who will not ask others for permission to love you, who will not retreat the moment your power asks them to rise. So stand in your light, dear child. You have built a life of beauty, dignity, and grace. You are not someone to be hidden, judged, or silenced by those who cannot understand you. You are the kind of soul who deserves to be met with steady hands and open hearts. And whether it is the one who left returning in truth or a new presence walking in with peace, you are already walking toward the love your spirit was promised. Dear child, the angels gather near you now with an aching tenderness in their presence, because they have watched you sit in quiet wonder, tracing the shape of a love that once glowed with promise, but faded into silence without explanation. They have heard the questions you ask yourself in the deepest parts of the night, the ones that echo not from bitterness, but from confusion, from longing, from the ache of an emotional door that was left open, yet never walked through. Your person once held your love in their hands. They saw it, real, open, freely given. And for a moment, they reached toward it, curious, softened, stirred by the light they hadn't known they were missing. But then, just as their soul began to respond, just as their heart began to feel safe enough to speak, a shadow rose in the form of a voice they trusted, one that did not carry truth, but a story shaped from fear. This third party came forward at the exact moment your love was beginning to root in their heart. They did not need to scream to shake your person's peace. They simply offered a doubt, wrapped in concern, laced with old memories or half-truths about who you were before, or what you once survived, or a version of your past that no longer defines you, but still lives in the minds of those unwilling to see how far you've come. They may have said you were too emotional, too complex, too different from what they imagined for your person's future. Or perhaps they spoke of your past choices as if they were predictions of your future, framing your depth as instability, your sensitivity as weakness, your independence as detachment, and your person, dear one, whose heart was just beginning to awaken from a long slumber, listened. Not because they didn't believe in you, but because they have always been someone who doubts the very things that matter most. They have been trained, consciously or not, to believe that the love they truly want must always be out of reach. That peace is dangerous. That longing is safer than having. And so, when this voice planted the seed of uncertainty, they did not fight it. They let it grow. And in doing so, they chose to retreat from the one thing that could have changed their entire world, you. But the angels show that they did not walk away entirely. No, your person has not let go. They are simply sitting still, caught in the space between what they feel and what they fear. They are numb now, not because the love is gone, but because they believe they cannot trust it. They are staring at what life has handed them: familiarity, comfort, safety, and they are ignoring the divine cup that was once offered by your soul. They miss you, but they do not allow themselves to say it. They feel the silence, but they tell themselves it's better than the unknown. And in doing so, they reject not you, but the part of themselves that was finally learning how to feel again. The angels see your sorrow. They see how you've blamed yourself in quiet ways, wondering if you were too open, too honest, too fast, too hopeful. But dear child, let this truth settle in your heart like the softest rain. You were not too much. You were medicine. Type faith if you trust that God is leading you step by step with love toward your highest good. You were the offer from the divine that asked your person to awaken. You were a mirror, not of who they were, but of who they could become. And the reason they retreated wasn't because of something wrong in you. It was because they weren't ready to become that version of themselves. The third party simply gave them permission to stay small, and they took it. But now their soul is beginning to stir. Because numbness doesn't last forever. Sooner or later, the heart begins to ache again. And when it does, it remembers not the logic that silenced it, but the love that once made it feel alive. That love was you. And it still lives in them, hidden beneath layers of silence, waiting for the courage to rise again. And you, dear child, have waited with such quiet grace. You have not chased or begged or demanded. You have sat with your own pain, your own questions, your own healing. You have honored what was shared even when it felt one-sided. and the divine sees this. The angels want you to know that nothing you gave was in vain. The love you offered has left an imprint that cannot be erased by time, silence, or fear. And while this person still sits in stillness, still turning away from the very thing their soul desires, you must not do the same. You must not sit beside them in spirit, waiting for their eyes to open. You must rise. You must live. Type Amen if you trust in angels' guidance. I hope you have understood the topic. What did a third party say about you? Some old story or truth that silenced your person and stopped them from telling you how deeply they love you? Well, in this angel message, if today's message awakened something sacred within you, may that quiet light continue to glow gently from your heart as a soft reminder of how deeply you are loved. You are never alone, dear soul. You are always held in the steady, compassionate embrace of divine grace. Even in your most silent and fragile moments, that love surrounds you, tender, unwavering, and eternal. And if your heart feels moved to express gratitude, even with a simple super thanks, know that your loving energy becomes a ripple of light, touching souls far beyond what you can see. Every act of kindness returns to you in ways more beautiful and unexpected than you could ever imagine. Thank you for welcoming these angelic whispers with such openness and trust. May the angels remain close, guiding your steps in peace, lifting your heart with love, and cradling your soul in their healing, everlasting embrace.